but he's going to fight for Main Street in New York State, and that's why I'm here, to come to the support of you.
Thank you, Curtis. And Kieran and Mary Jo, thank you for doing this in this lovely house. It's like you can do things in spite of the long odds. We still have a society that if you work and if you dream, and you got to do both, you can do some very important things. And my parents taught me that. My parents were immigrants. When I left Congress, I didn't take a government job. I didn't become a paid lobbyist. I set up 2 foundations and a volunteer lobby. The volunteer lobby for the Albanian people, a foundation called Truth in Government, and another one for human rights. Why? Because I realized that I could carry my congressional agenda forward without a title. And then all of a sudden, the thing that I've been saying for 20 years, I wrote a book, 1992, Unaccountable Congress, doesn't add up. The credit card mentality, credit line unlimited, expiration date never, build to future generations, a congressional voting card that I put on the front book. And people say, how good, how nice, sounds good, but let's kick that can down the road. We don't have to worry about these deficits. Finally, the people are saying what I've been saying for 25 years. What's the bottom line? We're spending money we don't have. We're borrowing from countries like China that don't share our values, that we don't trust. We did it from Japan 20 years ago. Now it's China. And what are we doing? We are putting the American dream in jeopardy. Why my father came here in 1929. Did he come from a government program? No. He came for opportunity and a job. $63 trillion, not 14. You have to add what we owe for Social Security. You have to add what we owe for Medicare. A, B, and D. Prescription drug is the biggest. We never thought it would cost that much. You have to put in military pensions, civil service pensions, and guess what? You have to put in these things that are off the books and are not funded. They're called government-sponsored enterprises. And guess what the biggest are? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. We now own 70% of the stock, and that financial regulation bill didn't even put it on the budget yet, and we have the stock now that we own 70%. But what about the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, the Post Office, the Farm Credit System? 20 entities off the books, but they can float bonds in the full faith and credit of the United States of America. This kind of accounting would get you indicted and arrested if you were a publicly traded company under the SEC, but the government exempted themselves from the SEC rules. No, in fact, the states created the federal government. And we got to go back to that. And there's another thing you should know. Out of 50 states, 10 of them are so dependent on the federal government that anytime Washington can't write a check, they can't write a check. Guess what's at the top of the list? New York State. 30.6% of the direct revenues. I'm a CPA, so I know these numbers. 30.6% of the direct revenues. What's that? Medicaid reimbursements and grants come from the federal government to New York State. I didn't say Social Security checks come to New York State, military bases, contracts. We have a lot of that too. But direct revenues, 30.6%. We are the greatest hostage to the federal government, and yet we get back less than 65% of the taxes we send there. Why is New York a toxic environment for jobs? I'll give you one. I can give you 4, but I wanted you to cut this short. Would you believe the tax rate overall in this state, and that's sales taxes, property taxes, income taxes, is 70% more than the average of all the other states?
I believe it.
So why should business come here? And why do you think they're trying to leave? You gotta start with Albany. We got to take out that dysfunctional government. It's a one-party system that is stepping on the people, only interested in re-election. You got a similar situation going in Washington. So I'm going to try my best to be a new Paul Revere, ringing that bell. The new tyrant is not King George III, it's Washington. And you watch me when I get down there.